Well, first of all, guten Morgen, and I would like to apologize for not being able to deliver my presentation in German. So, as he kindly introduced me, I come from a magazine background. I used to be senior editorial designer for a Spanish women monthly magazine, and for the last 5 years before moving to London, I work as an art director for the Special Issues magazine. Those were the Brides magazine, the Decoration, and the Accessorized magazine. So this is the type of magazine Telva was. As I said before, it was a monthly magazine, 250,000 circulation, leading magazine in the women publishing world in Spain. You probably don't know it because it was a Spanish brand, but it's similar in the audience and market to Vogue magazine, Elle, or Marie Claire magazine. So this is some of the work that I was going to say we do because I still feel part of the magazine, but I used to do there. So 1.5 years ago, I decided to resign my job to move to London because I wanted to start a career within magazine design, but moving into interactive platforms. So I was lucky enough to work on a final project, building up an iPad application in collaboration with Worldwide Fund. And I also was lucky enough to get to experience and live first person, a very exciting moment for the publishing industry. And that was last January when Steve Jobs presented the iPad to the world. By that time, even a few months before that, the magazine publishing was already very excited. There were news about the new tablet. Everybody in the industry knew that it was going to be somehow a revolution for the industry, and there were like big hope about, what magazines could do on the new tablet. However, at the same time, around the time September, October, November, magazine publishers were already, working on the first prototypes because Apple had this big secrecy policy about how the iPad was going to look like. And actually, I would give you a really good example. Time magazine, for instance, put together what they call Project Noah, and they worked for 40 days before the iPad was launched, like commercialized in March in the US. They worked for 40 days to put together within their art department their magazine iPad edition. And they could actually didn't have an iPad on their hands. They, like Apple, wouldn't deliver to magazines the tablets, so they have to work within a prototype, and they only had one chance to have a meeting in California with the Apple people, and they only had an iPad for 3 minutes in a meeting, and there was like one week and a half before, they launched Time magazine on the iPad. So that gives a pretty good idea of how crazy, the times were last year. A few, like 15, 16 months before, today. So at the same time, as I was saying, the state of affairs for the magazine industry were really exciting. For the 5 years previous, last year, audience readership has gone really down the hill, as well as advertising revenues. So the tablet also meant for publishers a second time for magazines to deliver their content in a new interactive device. That had to do with the fact that, the tablet resembled the rich reading experience of a magazine, that it has a beginning, a middle, and end. You have curated information from, a team of editors behind a brand that you already trust and that you want to get that information from them. The tablet also afford to keep the type of design, layout, typography, use of white space that you could do in magazines and that magazines never could do on the web before because they didn't have that type of control. And the tablet actually, allowed magazines to convey that look and feel that we could do in print. It was also a good chance to resemble advertising models that they were already working on paper magazines. They could actually go to advertisers and sell pages as screenshots and try to charge the same way they used to do in print, something that they have never been able to do in a proper way on the web because, banners couldn't work. And the whole idea of giving content free on the web, this was a very good opportunity for magazine publishers to try to get revenues out of it. So at the same time this was happening, there was, a big crowd of media consultants, media professionals, trying to come out with new ways of telling stories on the tablet, because it was good to try to resemble what we were doing on magazines, but this tablet had many different characteristics to the print medium. In a way, it combined the best of print, because as I said before, you could have curated information, the same rich experience of reading a whole article and not just endless links to it. And the look and feel, typography, art directions that magazine conveyed, you could actually resemble that on the tablet as well. It could also convey the best of the web, because you could have interactive storytelling, you could have use of multimedia, video, audio, interactive graphics, something that you couldn't do on a fixed medium as the print. And you could also customize and personalize information. You could update information the same way you could do on the web. And it could be an open source where you could share that information, even create your own feedback and content with people outside in the communities through social platforms such as Facebook and Twitter. And it also had the strengths of the mobile, because although it's more a laid-back experience that a lean forward, that it can be like a laptop or a moving in the way experience as can be smartphones, it actually has that option of portability where you can take it everywhere. It's not as intrusive as a laptop, and you could also take advantage of the locative awareness and try to use the information that magazines provide in a way that fits who you are, where you are, and at what time you're consuming the information. So that was a really great challenge. And as Alan Trevino, the art director of the Sunday Times, said, the tablet has the muscle of mobile and the heart and brains of print. So it was a great challenge for the magazine industry. So that's where my research in my MA in London College of Communication started. Once the iPad was launched, I started my research for my final degree, and I did a comparative study because I wanted to analyze the argument that it was behind these first magazines that were launched on the iPad. And my argument was that so far, at least at the beginning, the first few months where magazines were launched on the tablet, magazines were resembling basically the print metaphor behind the magazine product, but they weren't really taking advantage of all the other options and capabilities that the tablet could afford. For the same reason that when the TV was invented, it was used with the language of traditional previous media. It was used to deliver stories that had to do more with theater plays or radio speeds without taking advantage of what the TV could offer. And it took a few years to actually get the most of that medium. And my argument was in the same kind of path. It's kind of natural that so far magazines on the tablet, no matter if it's the iPad or other new tablets that are coming out, resemble what the old medium was, because it has a lot to offer and it has many features that can be taken advantage. But at the same time, it should be aware of what other features that the interactive platform offer to take the most of it and create new interactive ways of telling stories. So I had a comparative study with those 4 magazines that you have on the screen. It wasn't a very scientific study because in order to do a proper comparison, I should have taken magazines either with the same type of content or audience, or all of them should be monthlies or weeklies. But you have to be aware that that was 3 weeks after the iPad was launched. So I basically wore what I had on the Apple Store. So the findings that I got are pretty much the ones that I was telling you right now. And I would like to quote one of the people that I interviewed on my research. That's Jack Schultz. You just saw the News Plus prototype. He was the one from Berg Studio in London who worked with Bonnier Publisher, who are responsible for putting that prototype together. And I actually interviewed him 6 months ago after they launched it in, I think it was November 2009, the first Mac Plus prototype that was before the News Plus prototype. And I really liked the answer that he gave me to the reasons, why magazines haven't taken advantage of all, the interactive all the interactive opportunities that the device has. And he said, what you see on the surface of the iPad is maybe 1/3 of the story behind it. You have the business logic, the editorial frameworks, the production process, and then the consumption experience. All those things are connected, although only the last one is really visible to the consumer, but the others are more than half of the story. And that's, the main conclusion that I got from my dissertation, that although this findings from the comparative study about, how magazines were seen on the iPad, resembling the print metaphor and having a very first conservative, timid approach to the tablet, there was a reason behind. It was just not because, the content players don't understand what, the capabilities of the tablet are. There are like more things behind that first approach. So as I said, I have the chance to interview several people from the industry. Some of them already works for magazines, such as Gail Towie, who is the creative director of Martha Stewart Living. And I also talked to different consultants, such as Jack, that I already mentioned, or Jared Koken, who was and still is the creative director of Wonder Factory. They put together the Times and the Sports Illustrated iPad editions. I also talked to John Henry Barak, that it's a London-based design consultant who put together the Guardian iPhone application that it was really successful when it was launched 2 years ago. So basically, after interviewing all these people that were working, first line with this new device, they basically come out, with the same pretty much conclusions. Like the reasons that magazines have been pretty much resembling just the print editions, of the brands, has to do with two main things. Like one is like of course, the economic recession, and in order to do something more revolutionary and to come out with other ways of telling stories, with more use of multimedia elements, and trying to come out with innovative ways of telling stories, sharing them, you have to invest a huge radical, amount of money to do a transformational change. And it kind of makes sense that the industry is moving slow towards that, because still, they trust and they rely on traditional advertising frameworks, and that's what they actually, that's the way they finance their own publications. They also have to deal with traditional newsrooms production workflows. Like one of the first things that Berg Studio, when it was commissioned the Mac Plus prototype, one of the first things that Bonnier publisher told them, no matter what you come out, like the idea, the way that we are gonna portray magazines on the new tablet, you have to make sure that I'm capable of translating that prototype into 150 magazines that I have all across the US, and that I can do it either in a weekly basis or a monthly basis. So they also have to take in consideration the amount of work that they have, even with their own newsrooms, and with the people that they count, because most of the people from the magazine newsrooms, they come from print backgrounds. And now they have to educate again and recycle and start learning how to also do videos, try to come out with different ways of doing stories, and that's gonna take time. It's something that it cannot be from one day to another. For the same reason, the subscription models, they are still, working the same way. A print weekly is still an iPad weekly, a monthly weekly on print, it's still a monthly weekly on iPad, without taking in consideration that now we can have live products, we can update information, we can really face information in different ways, even taking the most of doing with magazine editors and curating information, but making more live products, not static fixed products. And then, and one of the most, in my opinion, important reasons why this is a very timid traditional approach to the tablet yet, it's because there are not enough studies out there, and we wanna convey new content, and we wanna see how our audience want to get that content, but there was no way to have those studies before, because there was no device out there, so people didn't even know how they were gonna be using the device. But things are changing really fast. And, although these first examples, there was a need to be part of the early adopters, like be frontline and be, one of the first publishing companies to be out there on the iPad. I think it was a brave and a good approach, because they will always have time to change and, start doing new things, see what their audience want, see what it's working, discard what it's not working, and just keep on going. It's only been not even 12 months since the commercialization of the iPad. And, as he said before, magazines have been there 250 years, and we are just trying to start a new stage in magazines, and we're gonna need time to come out with the best solution for that. So I had a chance to go to the Publishing Expo in London 2 weeks ago, and I have the chance to talk to some people, such as Rebecca Billingsley. She is the mobile publisher for BBC Magazines. And one of the things that she said to me constantly was, there's a need for testing and innovation. And I think that idea, it's there for most of the people that work for the industry. It's a matter of trial and error, try new formulas, come out with the ones that might work better, go back to your audience, see what it's working. As I said before, discard what it's not working, but test, test, test. At the BBC Magazines area, they have weekly meetings with all the different magazines within the company, and everybody goes to those meetings, from the designers to the editors to the producers, and they brainstorm and try to come out with new ideas to test. And that's how it's gonna be for a while. And also, I think for what most of the people in the industry also said, there's also a matter of trying to reach your audience wherever they are. I don't believe that print magazines are gonna disappear, and I hope they don't, because they are great for what they do. But there are different ways to get to your audience, and it's not about print magazines anymore, it's about brands. So you should go and you should be whatever your audience is, no matter if it's print, no matter if it's in her mobile device, no matter if it's on a tablet, no matter if it's on Spotify or Facebook. You have to find ways to tell the stories from your brand magazine, but in the ways that actually take the best of the device and find your audience whenever and whatever and the way they want to be. So I think that's what most of the magazine publishers have realized in the last months. And I want to show you, this is not part of my MA final dissertation anymore. This is an ongoing research that I'm doing, because I just graduated last October, and I keep on doing research, and I blog and write articles about magazines and future trends on interactive devices. And I want to show you a few examples of different formulas that magazines are starting to implement beyond just replicating the whole packaged product that they do in a monthly or weekly basis. So one of the ways they are trying to do something new, it's coming out with special issues, with premium content. These are special issues that you cannot really find on your print magazine. For instance, Vogue US, they don't have an iPad edition of the monthly magazine, but in their March issue that just came out 2 weeks ago, they have as the cover story Lady Gaga. So what they did was, instead of launching a $4 iPad magazine with a whole issue, they launched a 99 cents iPad edition, and it's just an edition about Lady Gaga. So you can see within that edition, you can see the making of the fashion feature done by Mario Testino, and you can also see extra questions and extra pictures with Lady Gaga that you cannot find within the print edition. And you can also download a couple of songs from the Apple Store from her new work. So that's a way of linking the content that you already have on your print edition, but doing something different that you can do with the tablet. And I think that's a pretty good way of getting also extra revenues for magazine publishers. Also, I want to show you one of the first examples of women magazines on the iPad that was launched by Martha Stewart Living last December. They actually, right now, they are doing their monthly magazine on the iPad, but this first issue, the beauty issue, it was a special they didn't have on print. And talking to the creative art director, she told me that it was very important for them to come out with a magazine on the iPad even before having that print edition. That way they wouldn't have the restraints of coming out with the same content that they have on the print. So I want to show you the YouTube video, so you get an idea of the type of stories they're trying to do on the iPad.
When I saw that iPad, I wanted a digital issue of the magazine immediately.
To be able to launch a new product and experiment with the digital space is like stepping into the future, and Adobe has really helped us do that. The digital publishing suite is very easy to incorporate into our existing workflow because we're already using all of these products.
One of the reasons we're excited about this new digital experience is that we can be out in the garden with our reader. We can be in the kitchen. For example, in the phyllo story, the reader can decide to open and close the phyllo and see what's inside. And we worked very closely with Adobe on creating the scrolling recipes and the scrolling ingredients list, very conscious of how the reader will be in the kitchen cooking.
We have a strong and very identifiable brand. It's the same magazine, but 100 times different because of the ability to utilize all the great programming that Adobe has developed and to use all the great techniques that the camera world has developed for us. I think that advertisers will see the real value in being able to put commercials in a magazine like this. You can't do that in print, and you can do it in digital.
We engage our reader by using beautiful immersive photography. And I think the cover, as the flower is opening, is the one where everybody goes, "Oh!" The other thing that people really love is the whole idea of the panorama, whether it's the Alaskan glacier panorama or Martha's Garden panorama, that feeling that you're discovering something as it's happening.
It's pretty impressive to be able to see a large swath of the farm where I grow my peonies, all 770 of them.
Lucinda Scalaquin, the head of our food department, did an incredible story in Alaska this summer with our longtime photographer, Christopher Baker, who used one camera to shoot both still and video. And they brought home a story that the reader can enter on many, many levels and feel as though they're completely engaged in this unbelievable story.
Here's one of my favorite stories. It's the makeup story. We take Aisha step by step through her rather simple and elegant makeup transformation. You can't do that on the printed page in any way like that. This is change, but it's a good change. It's a change, I think, that will enable people to access our type of information where and when they want to access it.
If they want a print magazine, we will deliver a print magazine. If they're comfortable on a digital device or a mobile device, we will deliver it there.
The Adobe Digital Publishing Suite is incredibly important to Martha Stewart Living, and it will speed up our productivity ultimately in going to the next realm of many more publications in digital.
I think that with each issue, with the added knowledge and technology and the new innovation that Adobe and others are going to create, we're going to be able to make even more extraordinary issues. This is just the beginning, and I think it's a very good beginning.
Okay, I know that they mentioned Adobe like several times. It seems to be like a pretty, like commercial, I know. But it doesn't matter if it's Adobe or if it's another company who's putting together your magazine. It's about what they are trying to do. Like even coming out, whenever they think about a print story, they try to think farther, and they try to think about video, and they try to think about, interaction and multimedia and how they can come out with a different way of telling the stories than what they were doing on print. So that was the main point of, the demo that they have there. But going back to, different formulas, this is another one that I think some publishers are introducing, and they might work pretty well as well. These are utility applications, and what they basically do is take advantage of your resources, like take advantage of all the articles, all the content that you've already published, take advantage of all, the different mediums that your publishing company has, and put together a unique iPad or other, device application that your consumer is gonna want to buy because it has your brand, and they rely on your brand. So if Condé Nast Traveler come out, as this is the case, with the Best of Italy iPad app, a Condé Nast user, someone that buys the Condé Nast Traveler or maybe some other magazine within the company, they will rely on the content because they trust that brand. So what they basically do, they curated several articles that they've already published in the past within the magazine, so they didn't have to create new content. And they put together some interactive maps of different cities in Italy, and they had links to the websites to get updated information. So actually for £2, you can get a pretty good, complete Italy guide with the best of, of the country, curated by, the eyes of Condé Nast Traveler. So that's another different formula to just replicating, monthly content. Another trend that it's starting and growing really fast is trying to convey different services within your own publishing company. And e-commerce, it's already been big for the last 2 years, and especially on website platforms, but it's growing faster and faster on the tablet as well. For instance, Hearst Publishing Company, they have an agreement with Net-a-Porter, so whenever they have any shopping page, you can actually link into Net-a-Porter e-commerce website and buy straightforward from your magazine to their website. Oprah Magazine, it's another magazine that I study lately, and they were launched in December, and they also have a pretty good way of trying to get you to buy, the products that they recommend on their magazine. So this is a shorter video, but I think it's good so you can get the idea of how it works.
Hi. Ever since I got my iPad, I've been really excited about developing an app.
Hi, I'm Gail King, introducing O, the Oprah Magazine for the iPad. This taste of the December 2010 issue is filled with articles that have been completely reimagined for the interactive screen, like the O List Holiday Gift Guide, featuring hand-picked presents from Oprah, myself, and the other members of the O family. Tap on a gift to learn more about it. There are 360-degree rotations, links to buy items online, and you can share gift ideas with your friends directly from the app or save your favorites for later. Reading Room highlights our favorite books of the year, complete with excerpts so you can try before you buy. There's also a special selection of homemade treats with recipes to make as gifts for friends and family. Feature articles include videos, lots of beautiful photography, and many, many more surprises waiting to be discovered. This is O, the Oprah Magazine, completely redesigned for the iPad, coming to you every month and available now in the Apple App Store.
So the thing that I found more interesting about this demo, about this first issue of Oprah, is the way you can actually buy the content that they curate and they recommend to the readers through their application without leaving the application. So you actually can buy and get everything you want without having to go to the web, without having to go to your Explorer or Safari. You can actually do it within the app. So that's pretty good. And the second thing that I think it's a really good idea, it's to build up a community within their app, the way that you can share your wish list with your friends or other people that are using the application. It's also a good way to take advantage of what Web 2.0 has brought to us, the way of building communities and sharing content through social platforms. So there was another one. And then, there are several formulas, and I'm gonna try to go fast because I have to finish my presentation. So other ways of doing it, just don't think about your fixed content. Try to make your content live. Some magazines are doing it through connecting their iPad editions to their web news feeds. And not only that, but also using their other resources. If they have video, if they have, a website, try to make all your brand an extension of what you do and not just lock your content in a closed environment within your tablet. Another important issue is that you have to take in consideration that your audience is very different. Like some people would just want to have a replica of your print magazine on their device because they travel a lot, and whenever they go, abroad, they want to be able to download their magazine without having to go to an international newsstand. And they have that type of readers, but they also have the type of readers who are going to want to experience rich content in different ways of getting that content. And I'm not going to show you the demo because I don't have more time, but Vogue UK actually did a pretty good job with their fashion and beauty features. They, beyond going through still images, they shot video and they got interviews with the celebrities they were shooting, and it's a really good way to go. Just think beyond what you used to do in print and come out with different ways of doing it, taking advantage of the tablet. Then, of course, we have some examples of magazines that don't exist on print, and they came out on the tablet. The advantage that they have is that they don't have something to resemble to, so they can start from scratch and try to do different things. Project Magazine defines itself as a living magazine with updated content. They don't work as a weekly or a monthly magazine. They actually update the information. You have links to the blogs of the different people that write their articles, and actually you can actually comment and give feedback on those articles, and that's something that I haven't found in any other magazines that I've seen before. So Project, I think the strength of Project is the fact that although it has the look and feel of a print magazine, it takes more advantage of the features that the Web 2.0 has brought in the last 6 years. And then, of course, you can still have like a print magazine, but think on the tablet. So just because the content and the device resemble what you used to do in print, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't design it the same way. You should keep the typography, the brand identity, but adapt your design to your tablet. And then, of course, it's the dilemma of should you go for a tablet, a native app, or you should go for web. Kind of depends on what your user needs and your consumer needs are, but that's an option out there. And then last but not least, I would like to mention customized magazines, because this is also a revolutionary way of getting content. And companies such as Flipboard and Site, that was launched 1 week ago, within the look and feel of a magazine, they customize the information. And there are magazines that somehow they read you instead of you reading them, because they actually follow the path of your news feeds and the bloggers that you follow, the topics that you're interested in, and they lay out the type of content that you might be interested in. So magazine publishers can take some ideas of what some other companies that they are not media companies are doing as well on the tablet, to take ideas of how to develop and how to deliver their content. And anyway, these are just a few formulas at the beginning, and many, many more will come. But it's just important to make sure that you always recognize who your audience is, where you can find it, and try to deliver your brand wherever they are and whenever they want their information. And that's it. Thank you.